Deep in the ancient Appalachian mountains, a dark, weathered wooden cabin stood isolated, completely surrounded by suffocating, dense forest. Ethan, a young rider wearing a gray hoodie, drove his muddy SUV up the winding, rocky mountain trail. He parked the car in the overgrown driveway, stepped out, and looked at the ominous, silent cabin. As Ethan walked onto the creaking front porch, the heavy front door opened with a slow, echoing groan. Inside, the air felt freezing. Ethan set his laptop on a heavy oak desk facing a large glass window. By midnight, the forest became unnaturally silent. Not a single bird, cricket, or rustling leaf could be heard. Suddenly, a sharp tapping sound broke the silence. Something was hitting the glass window directly behind his desk. Ethan froze at his desk, his heart hammering as he slowly turned around to look at the dark glass. Cupping his hands against the window, he peered into the dark, but saw only shifting, black shadows. Unsettled, he walked upstairs to the bedroom, locking the door behind him to escape the cold night air. At exactly 3:15 a.m., Ethan's eyes snapped open in the dark. The bedroom temperature had drastically plummeted. From the dark woods outside, a muffled, artificial woman's voice began to cry out in desperate agony. The voice repeated the exact same phrase over and over, sounding like a broken, mechanical audio loop. Suddenly, the voice distorted into a deep, guttural rasp, turning into Ethan's own perfect, terrifying voice. Creeping to the window, he peeked through the blinds and saw a towering, 7-foot slender shadow waiting. The entity slowly tilted its head to an impossible angle, snapping its neck with a loud, sickening crack. At dawn, Ethan rushed outside to his SUV, desperately turning the ignition key, but the engine was completely dead. Popping the hood, he gasped. The thick wires were aggressively chewed through with deep, jagged teeth marks. With no cell service, Ethan grabbed his backpack and began walking down the foggy, endless mountain path. After hours of walking through the thick mist, the familiar dark wooden cabin emerged ahead of him. Trapped in a loop, he ran inside, barricading the heavy front door with the massive oak desk. On the coffee table lay an old, dusty leather journal filled with shaky, frantic handwritten warnings. The text read, Rule 1, never look into their eyes. Rule 2, do not answer their knocking. As night fell, a wet, squelching sound descended the stairs, followed by the clicking of sharp claws. A horrific beast with animal skulls for a head and glowing white eyes stepped into the room. Remembering the rule, Ethan instantly ripped his gaze away, staring fixedly at the wooden floorboards. The creature leaned down, breathing cold, foul air on Ethan's face, speaking in his mother's voice. Suddenly, violent banging shook the front door, and a voice mimicking his best friend screamed for help. When Ethan refused to open, a chorus of mocking, demonic laughter erupted from all around the cabin. Dozens of hands began scratching and pounding on the exterior walls, slowly breaking the glass windows. Following the journal's rules, Ethan scrambled toward the kitchen and lifted the wooden floor hatch. He slipped into the damp, narrow crawl space beneath the cabin, pulling the hatch shut over his head. Above him, heavy, uncoordinated footsteps flooded the cabin, tearing the furniture into splinters. A dark, cold metallic fluid began to drip through the cracks, landing directly on Ethan's shoulder. Suddenly, a scratching sound echoed in the darkness right next to him. Something was digging in the dirt. Ethan turned on his flashlight, illuminating a rotting corpse wearing a 1970 flannel shirt. Sitting on the corpse was a small, faceless creature with a vertical mouth full of needle teeth. The creature lunged, screeching horribly. Ethan swung his iron fire poker wildly, striking it in the dark. Screaming in pure madness, Ethan kicked open the hatch and collapsed back onto the ruined kitchen floor. The cabin was devastated. Thick, ghostly mountain fog was now drifting heavily through the broken windows. As he stumbled toward the exit, Ethan stopped dead. A large, unbroken mirror stood in the hallway. In the reflection, the 7-foot skull monster was standing directly behind him, hugging his shoulders. But when Ethan looked back in reality, the space behind him was completely empty and vacant. In a frenzy, he smashed the mirror with his iron poker, but every broken shard still reflected the beast. Ethan ran screaming into the foggy woods, as the forest echoed with his own stolen voice forever.